Hello, and a very, very warm welcome to the 5% Show. I'm Richie Smith, the online chaplain, and this is episode 9 in our series of video services for the online church of St. John the Evangelist. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week's show, with the events of the week, is appropriately dedicated to war, which sadly devastates lives across the world every single day. Not only for service personnel, but for their families and many other people caught up in fighting, as we've seen this week in the Ukraine. But it's also happened in other places where bombings have continued almost unnoticed in our mainstream media. As a Christian, it can be hard to understand why God allows these evil things to happen. But we do know these are not His acts. There are many satanic things in our world, such as greed, selfishness, and cruelty. It's important to find time to pray in these moments, and today we think and pray for those people affected by events in Ukraine, but also for those affected by war globally, and for the Russian people who have relatives fighting for a cause many don't even believe in. I pray that God protects everybody this week, and helps politicians agree upon a peace treaty that's suitable for everybody. Thanks again for joining us, and please enjoy the show.
Peaceful world, where have you gone? Whatever happened to liberty and freedom? Oh, weeping world, when will you be? A peaceful world in every continent and sea. I had a dream so real, where every child in of the world came side by side and spoke as one to every president and ruler, everyone. You never learn, you never see that war is pointless. Listen to the children speak. You never learn, you never know. Give peace a chance was shouted so long ago. And in my dream the soldiers laid their guns down, and presidents and kings and rulers knelt down, and listened to the children of the whole world say loud and proud, let's give peace a chance. Let's give peace a chance. You never learn, you never see that war is pointless. Listen to the children speak. You never learn, you never know. Give peace a chance was shouted so long ago. And Let's give peace a chance. Let's give peace a chance.
Like probably most of you, since Thursday I've kept a tab open in my web browser for updates on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The main feeling I think I've had and still have is grief, accompanied with powerlessness. Perhaps you felt it too. This newest invasion already has and is certainly going to result in even more terrible devastation. As a Human Rights Watch summarized, the current invasion has been simmering and then boiling over multiple times since 2014. They reported the armed conflict between government forces and Russia-backed armed groups has taken a heavy toll on civilians in eastern Ukraine. The conflict, ongoing for almost 8 years, has killed over 16,000 people, including both combatants and civilians, and has displaced close to 1.5 million people. The fighting has also led to widespread damage and destruction of civilian infrastructure, including homes, hospitals, and schools, on both sides of the 427-kilometer line of contact. We are witnesses of these things, now adding to that list a growing list of tragedy and destruction and loss of life, a situation going from bad to worse, and the terrible price that will be paid in life, well-being, and happiness. We don't even know the full price that's going to be paid, and we grieve for that too. We often speak from the viewpoint of the large scale of things, the history behind the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the political aspects such as the role of NATO, the religious aspects such as the tensions between branches of the Orthodox churches, and the global trends such as the rise of authoritarianism and the role of nationalism in Russia's justifications of this invasion. But in these first days of the invasion, my grief keeps leading me back to the humanity that is lost in war, both those who die and those who live to bear the scars. When I close my eyes, I see the masses huddled in subway stations seeking protection from falling bombs, and I remember the disabled and people with mobility issues who can't flee for safety in that way. I read the proclamation barring all males aged 18 to 60 from leaving the borders of Ukraine as part of the general mobilization of the military. I see photos of a human being kneeling beside the body of another human being who is killed in an airstrike. I feel pride and fear for the protesters arrested in Russia. I think about the stream of refugees that's already fleeing the violence, numbering at least 120,000 so far. And I hear the pleas of organizations like UNICEF to support the needs of vulnerable children and families, including over 500,000 children in the Donbas region. Amnesty International is already busy documenting indiscriminate violence against civilian populations and infrastructure such as hospitals. And then there's the reminder that this invasion of Ukraine has brought to our minds again of the risks of living in the age of nuclear weapons. The injuries of past wars are still alive, largely untended and still tender in our histories and our cultures and our generations. These unhealed wounds are part of why it is so painful to observe the new wounds being made in Ukraine. As a pastor, I've worked with veterans who are still struggling with the cost of war decades after they were discharged. As a peace worker in Cambodia, I saw the trauma of war still alive in people's hearts, influencing cultures and scarring the land itself decades after the official end of war. The wounds of war are deep, and they last a long time unless and until we decide as a society to do the work to heal them. In the current situation, we have both the immediate responsibility to help bring about an end of the war in Ukraine as swiftly as possible, and that long-term responsibility to help bring about healing and rebuilding for all who have been impacted. Part of that work is right here inside of us, in our hearts, in our communities. Those feelings of grief and powerlessness too often pass without us doing anything meaningful about them, without any healing or resolution. We move from one crisis to the next without changing either ourselves or the world. I hold close to my own heart the story of Mahagosananda, who tirelessly worked for peace in Cambodia in some of the most challenging and terrible circumstances you could imagine. He was practicing at a temple in Thailand and became trapped there when the violence broke out and the Khmer Rouge came to power. He learned there at the temple that all of his family had been murdered. He learned of the many monastics who were killed in Cambodia. He struggled with what to do. To return to Cambodia at that moment would not accomplish anything, but he was so overwhelmed by his grief that all he could do was weep. It seemed all he had left was his tears. But his teacher, Damodaro, told him, "Be mindful. Prepare for the day when you can truly be useful to your country." And that became Mahagosananda's practice, so that when it became possible for him to return to Cambodia, he was ready to return. He taught, the present is the mother of the future. Take care of the mother, then the mother will take care of the children. Mahagosananda did return to Cambodia, and the fruit of his efforts are still remembered and live on today, especially in the renewed commitments of socially engaged Buddhists there. Our grief is an important response to war. Our hearts, they should be tender, and we should also respond in whatever way we can, even in our powerlessness. So if you're inclined, do all those things that we're encouraged to do. Contact government officials, support aid groups, attend a vigil if you want to. Act in whatever ways you can. But please also remember the lesson Damodaro taught Mahagosananda. What can you begin learning now, practicing now, that could help heal the last war or prevent the next war? How can you prepare now so that when an opportunity to act reaches you, you're ready? Even in our powerlessness and grief, there is a way to move forward. The present is the mother of the future. Take care of the mother, then the mother will take care of the children.
Everybody's talking about
Planet Earth,
rebirth,
United Nations,
good relations, space station, starvation, radiation, salvation, education, liberation. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. What we're talking about, everybody's talking about civil war, revolution, Armageddon,
no solution.
are we facing Vietnam? We don't want to drop the bomb. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. talking about acid house, gay spouse, greenhouse, heavy metal, hip hop, censorship has to stop. HIV, AZT, and new kids dance on MTV with toxic waste dumps in the sea. See. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Everybody's talking about it.
Amazon, the trees gone, cancer cells from the sun. Middle East, crazy beast, rock and roll to sing for peace. All we are saying, all we're singing is give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. All we are saying, all we're singing is give peace a chance. You gotta sing it for the children. All we are saying, is give peace a chance. Before it's too late, baby. All we are saying, all we're singing is give peace a chance. Give a chance to the children. All we're saying, come on, baby, is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. That's all we're saying. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there's sadness, ever joy. Oh, Master, grant that I may never seek so much to be consoled as to console.
Everybody's talking about
Planet Earth,
rebirth,
United Nations,
good relations, space station, starvation, radiation, salvation, education, liberation. All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. What we're talking about, everybody's talking about civil war, revolution, Armageddon,
no solution.
are we facing Vietnam? We don't want to drop the bomb. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. Everybody's talking about acid house, gay spouse, greenhouse, heavy metal, hip hop, censorship has to stop. HIV, AZT, and new kids dance on MTV with toxic waste dumps in the sea. See. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Peace. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Everybody's talking about
Amazon trees gone, cancer cells from the sun, Middle East, crazy beasts, rock and roll to sing for peace. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. You gotta sing it for the children. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Before it's too late, babe. All we are saying is give